Hey there, this is Matt once again coming at you with another random review. This time it is Any Given Sunday. Now, it's a football movie directed by Oliver Stone, and I'd probably say this is my favorite Oliver Stone film. There are others I enjoy. I like Platoon. I liked JFK. Natural Born Killers is okay, but it's not like a film I rewatch many times. I think this is my favorite because number one, the cast is fantastic. Even though this is the special edition director's cut, so this is like 2.5 hours long, it didn't feel that way to me. This is sort of the film that sticks out for Oliver Stone, and I mean that in a good way, because a lot of times he deals with heavy subjects. The Vietnam War, the JFK assassination, the media dealing with serial killers. I think he did World Trade Center with Nick Cage. I wasn't a fan of that movie. And this deals with the media a little bit and the politics that happen behind football. But I don't know, this one I felt was just, in a weird way, more of a straightforward movie dealing with its subject matter. And it still has some really nice direction by Oliver Stone, the way he sets up some shots, some sequences, how there'll be these things like a character's talking, and then you see lightning and a storm overlaid over the person's face, so you get those Oliver Stone little points of his direction that you've seen in other movies. And I don't watch a lot of football in real life. I have nothing against football. It's just I just don't have the time to sit down and watch a football game. And if I did watch a game, it'd probably be more basketball than football. But movies about it is they're fun because you get the hard-hitting action, and these people really get hurt doing this stuff, and it's a very, very dangerous sport. There's a reason why people have all sorts of injuries during it. Now, the story of the film, Al Pacino plays a coach of this team called the Miami Sharks. And right there, Al Pacino playing the coach of a football team seems like perfect casting. I love Al Pacino. I think he's one of our great actors out there, from films like And Justice for All, which I will review that soon. That's a great movie. Heat with Michael Mann, Robert De Niro co-starring. I reviewed that film. That's great. Playing the devil in The Devil's Advocate. He was a wonderful devil. Al Pacino, wonderful actor. I think he does a great job here as Tony D'Amato. And he's been the coach for a long time. He's getting older, seeing his life passing him by. People feel his old ways is antiquated. It's not useful anymore in this day and age. At least the time this took place, 1999. Which I reviewed another Jamie Foxx film called Bait. I'm like, was this before or after Bait? But this was 99, so this was before that. I'll get to Jamie Foxx in a minute, but yeah, Al Pacino, his team has been losing for a while. Cameron Diaz is the owner, and she's just worried about the money, the marketing. This thing's going badly. Her father used to know Al Pacino very well, and so does she. But she's like, "You're becoming an old dinosaur, and maybe you need to move on. Things need to change." Dennis Quaid is the quarterback that's been on the team for a long time, but he's getting older. He's hurt, his back, his pelvis, all sorts of places on his body. So he seems like he's on his last leg, currently injured. And then Jamie Foxx is the new quarterback that comes in, and he's making the headlines and he's turning people's heads. And the bit of fame goes to Jamie Foxx's head, so he gets a bit cocky, a bit filled with ego with the fame. LL Cool J, he's part of the team, and a bit of him is more worried about this contract he has, that if he gets a certain amount of yards, then he gets paid a bit more money. And him and Jamie Foxx battle it out. Apparently, they battled it out in real life. Although I think I read somewhere that nowadays they're okay with each other, but back then they kind of took it to Jamie Foxx and LL Cool J really did butt heads with each other. James Woods is his doctor, who's kind of he's willing to overlook certain things if he can get a little bit of money and well, the slithery team doctor. That's kind of a perfect way to describe it. You also have Matthew Modine, who works with James Woods. You have Charlton Heston, who makes a small appearance. Aaron Eckhart, sort of an early role for Aaron Eckhart, who would be in films I enjoy, like The Core, yes. This really underrated one called Suspect Zero. Most people know him as Two-Face in The Dark Knight. John C. McGinley, he's been in a lot of films from On Deadly Ground with Steven Seagal. I think he was in Highlander 2. Get Carter with Stallone. If you see his face, it's like, oh, I recognize him. He plays a guy who hosts his sports show and talks shit about Al Pacino and what's going on. The cast is a big reason why this film works well as Oliver Stone's direction. And it's also, at times, kind of an inspiring story. And I say that because when you get to the ending, and Al Pacino's giving his speech to the team, it's a very inspiring speech. You know, we fight for that inch. In any fight, it's a guy who's willing to die, who's going to win that inch. And makes you really understand how these people get pumped up. Really get pumped up for what happens at the end of the film. And like I said, Al Pacino as the host of a football team is perfect casting. I think even if you're not into football, you would enjoy it just for the intensity of this cast working together. Al Pacino, you're not fucking focused. I love what Al Pacino yells. I mean, of course, my favorite Scarface. Love Scarface to death. He's just, and just a perfect role for him. And this is a film no one talks about. No one ever mentions Any Given Sunday. But I would put up there as the best football movie. Some people would say I think The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds, or I do like The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, which that's more comedy, but that's a fun movie. Then you have The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler, which is there. It's all right. I've seen much worse Adam Sandler movies. I've seen better. I'm sort of in the middle with The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler one, but which Burt Reynolds was also in that. The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds, the original, I haven't seen all the way through. I've only seen bits and pieces. I'm trying to think of football movies now. Oh, you have stuff like Necessary Roughness. I remember having fun with Scott Bakula, Sinbad. I know there's more, but I can't think of it. I'm sure there's a list I could look up on the internet. But the action scenes during the football sequences are well directed. You really feel the impact. It's nice to see some people in there. It's like, oh, I recognize that person. Like Jim Brown, he's there who works on Al Pacino's team, works with the defensive people. Of course, one of the defensive people is Lawrence Taylor, who's a real football player. And it was just cool to see all these actors interact together. They have Al Pacino, Dennis Quaid, James Woods, all in the same movie. Jamie Foxx did a good job. I mean, by this point, I know he had done the TV show In Living Color, and he did a couple movies. He was a star in the more comedies. He did one called Held Up, which I have. One day down the road, I'll review that. That's not a bad movie. Held Up. And then Bait, I had fun with. Nowadays, he's definitely much more in the serious roles, whether it be dramas, Ray, which I haven't seen all the way through, I must admit. I saw bits and pieces on TV a long time ago. Collateral, which I love. I reviewed Collateral. That's a wonderful film. He did that film Sleepless, which I haven't seen. He's the new Spawn. From what I understand, at one point, Chris Tucker was approached to be the lead that Jamie Foxx plays. Well, Pacino's more the lead, but to play the Jamie Foxx character, but Chris Tucker said no. And that would have been interesting to see Chris Tucker take a stab at a dramatic role at that time. And I know people say, come on, that wouldn't happen. Well, I'm sure some people said the same thing with Jamie Foxx, that he couldn't do it, but he did a wonderful job. And he's not that bad of an actor. Of course, yes, Jamie Foxx was also in that shitty Miami Vice movie with Colin Farrell, which I do not fucking like. And this, again, the story is very straightforward. It's not, some of Oliver Stone's films can be kind of weird. I don't know, maybe weird's not the right word, but can be a bit like, huh? Again, I don't mind, like, Natural Born Killers, it's an okay movie, but yeah, there's a lot of, like, weird out there moments, like when the killers meet the Native American guy, and, okay, this is a bit wonky, but it's meant to be. That's the point of it. I understand that. And there's some fun wonkiness too, like the scene with Rodney Dangerfield. But yeah, I'm looking up Oliver Stone's filmography. And I'm trying to see if they show his filmography in the list. Okay. The Hand, which I haven't seen. Salvador, I saw a long time ago. I remember James Woods giving a good performance. Platoon, I like. Wall Street, I haven't seen in forever. Talk Radio, I have not seen. Born on the 4th of July, that's a good film with Tom Cruise. The Doors, JFK, I like. Heaven and Earth, I haven't seen. Nixon, I have not seen, but I'd be interested because Anthony Hopkins as Nixon. That's intriguing. U-Turn, I haven't seen in a while. Any Given Sunday. He did Alexander, which I haven't seen. World Trade Center, which I didn't like. W, about George W. Bush. Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, which I remember sucking. Savages, I haven't seen. Snowden, I know about the real life Snowden. What happened with that? That's the guy who, about the real guy Edward Snowden, who let out the info about stuff going on in the CIA and how they are with, how do I put it, bugging people's phones. Well, not bugging people's phones. There's a documentary that was made with the real Snowden because these reporters went to Hong Kong to meet him in this hotel room. It was a pretty interesting documentary. Say documentary because it was happening in real time and sort of the footage collected during their meeting at this hotel in Hong Kong. I'm going off tangent. That's another thing for another day, but it's an interesting story if you look up Snowden. And I'm trying to find out, like, this film, when it came out in 1999, it came out the year December 1999. And I'm not sure if it did well or not. The reception was mixed. Has a 51% of Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is a bit low. Jim Caviezel played Al Pacino's estranged son, but his scenes were cut. Tom Sizemore also had a role in the film, but it too was cut. Director Oliver Stone's first two choices to play the coach was Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Henry Rollins was offered a role as a football player, but turned it down as he felt he didn't have the size to make the portrayal believable. Sean Puffy Combs, Sean P. Diddy, was cast as the Jamie Foxx character, but dropped out amidst rumors he could not throw a football convincingly. According to Cuba Gooding Jr., he met with Oliver Stone about playing the role, but Stone turned Cuba Gooding Jr. down because he already played a football player in Jerry Maguire. And then, yeah, Chris Tucker turned down the role, and then Jamie Foxx got it. And he did a good job with it. He pulled off the emotional points of it just as well as any little bits of comedic moments in the movie. And I'm not going to go word for word like what all happens in the film because again, it is like a 2.5 hour movie, so it would make for a long ass review. But it's one of those films that each time I watch it, is that's a new person I recognize, like James Karen, the guy in Poltergeist, who Great Teen Nelson is like, you didn't move the headstones. The guy he's talking to, and then he's also in Return of the Living Dead. He's in this in a small role. Al Pacino and Jamie Foxx work well together. They have a nice confrontation in Al Pacino's home. While Al Pacino's trying to explain to him this game has got to be more about winning. You're just talking about winning and nothing matters, nothing else than that. And Al Pacino's trying to tell him, no, there's more than that. That you're a goddamn quarterback. You're a lineage of people. People have to trust you because you're a leader. But then he doesn't want to listen, and then the players don't protect him during one football game in the rain, and Jamie Foxx gets the shit kicked out of him, and that sort of helps lead. There are other stuff too, but sort of the first step in the leading Jamie Foxx, like, hey, you gotta treat your team better. It's not all about you. And I want to get the speech that Al Pacino says at the end because it's a fantastic speech. Actually, I'll probably maybe say that for last. This is a pretty long speech, but it's a great one. And that's another thing. The movie has a lot of nice pieces of dialogue. And it's cool to have these actors spar with each other dialogue wise. Like I love Al Pacino and James Woods, and it was cool to see them share the same frame together, to be in the same scene together. I wish there were more scenes of Al Pacino and James Woods together because I love those two actors, and there's very few times they get to spar with each other verbally. So I wish there was more of those two guys. The soundtrack works well for the film. Have no problems with that. Again, I like the directorial touches that Oliver Stone peppers in throughout it. It gives a bit of an energy to it. I think that's why the running time did not bother me because it definitely has a pretty decent flow. Just to show some of the pictures throughout it. And again, all the actors like Dennis Quaid, he does a wonderful job. He's likable. You feel sorry for this quarterback who's trying to do the best that he can. And there's a moment where he's like, I can't go on. I'm hurt. And his wife is really bitchy and even slaps him. Don't give me this shit. You can do it. Makes you really feel sorry for Dennis Quaid. That scene I was talking about when Al Pacino was talking with Jamie Foxx. Al Pacino says stuff like, that's what a leader's about, sacrifice. The time he's got to sacrifice because he's got to lead by example, not by fear and not by self-pity. And I'm trying to figure like how far do I go with this, because part of me wonders maybe a lot of people have seen this film, so do I describe scenes you've already seen? The other part of me is like maybe a lot of people haven't seen this because again, no one ever talks about this movie anymore, and I don't really get why. Even with Oliver Stone movies, like no one, like they talk more about The Doors, they talk more about Natural Born Killers, Platoon. This is one of the lesser ones they talk about, but it is my favorite. Because I never, who would have ever thought Oliver Stone doing a football movie? And then you watch the film, it's like, yeah, I could see why he would do it. It's slick, doesn't look low budget or anything. Again, the football scenes are well shot. The usage of music, for example, there's a nice moment where they use this song from Moby, which I remember the piece of music from an X-Files episode as well. I can't describe the lyrics, but I remember one bit. It's when they win the game at the end. Oh, spoiler. Most football games do that. Or most sports games, unless it's the Bad News Bears. But it's a nice piece of music where the sound effects cut off and you have this only here. I thought that was beautifully done, and I'm not going to see much of it because I'll butcher it. But even the first time I saw it, I'm like, wow, that's really touching. That's really sweet. And I thought the ending was satisfying. I can't tell you what all was added to this. I don't even know if you can find the original theatrical cut of the movie. If it's on a Blu-ray or some other thing where there's multiple cuts, or if there's just this special edition director's cut. I don't know. If you do know, feel free to tell me in the comments. But yeah, it was just one of those films. I haven't seen this in a while. I want to give this another look. And very entertaining, kick-ass football movie. But even if you're not into football, to see this cast work together and this story about Al Pacino. He's a guy who knows he's being moved along through life and passed along, and people feel he's past his prime, and definitely a guy for me to root for. Oh, there's actually another person I recognized, Elizabeth Berkley, who was in Saved by the Bell. She was in the star Showgirls. She's in this as a hooker. At least I think I don't remember her character name, but she seemed like a hooker because Al Pacino would talk to her and she would want money, and there's no like big sex scenes like Showgirls, thankfully. But it's like, is that Elizabeth? Holy shit, that is Elizabeth Berkley. And there were a couple reviewers that gave it nice reviews like this here, but yeah, it's not the most critically acclaimed Oliver Stone film, which is too bad. Just a damn good movie. And speaking of the speech, I thought this was a wonderful speech at the end here. I don't know what to say, really. 3 minutes to the biggest battle of our professional lives. All comes down to today, and either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. We can stay here and get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell, 1 inch at a time. Now, I can't do it for you. I'm too old. I look around, I see these young faces, and I think, I made every wrong choice a middle-aged man can make. I pissed away all my money, believe it or not. Chased off anyone who's ever loved me. Lately, I can't even stand the face I see in the mirror. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. That's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches, and so's football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. One half a step too late or too early and you don't quite make it. 1/2 a second too slow or too fast and you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing, between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face. I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who'll go that inch for you. You don't see a guy who sacrificed himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. That's football, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you going to do? What I'm going to do is keep this as part of my collection because I think it's a damn good football movie with an underrated performance by Al Pacino because no one ever talks about his role in this, let alone this film. Wonderful cast, energetic storytelling by Oliver Stone. And if you've never seen the film, if you like football, definitely see it. If you're not into football, I think it's worth at least one watch for the filmmaking and the cast. And definitely a bit of an underrated movie. So, thanks for watching. Take care. And we will see you later. Because any given Sunday, you can win or you can lose.